And today with us we have uh a repeater. He was here before. He was here in episode 63 when we touched on various aspects on health, and he gave us some background on himself. And I'm speaking about no other than Sir Keiron Regis because he told us he was knighted. So he's Sir Keiron Regis. Keiron, welcome once
Yes,
again.
thank you for having me again. Thanks for the opportunity.
And thanks for joining us again. And I know where we stopped off the last time, we were speaking about relationships and men's health and how we could go around those things. But before we could jump into that, although this will be airing on Tuesday, we're recording here on Saturday evening where the World Cup, when it's time of the World Cup where the semi-finals have just
Mhm.
concluded. It saw that England beat France in the semi-finals night. I know a lot of people have been crying, a lot of men. World Cup and football brings men together, bring people together.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time. I remember when one of the only games, the entire game I watched so this World Cup was Brazil versus Haiti. Where a
Right.
partner called me and got me out the house, and we went hot shots to watch the game. We didn't know anybody there besides my partner. And what happened was nothing short of, I tell people, these circles, men. We get along. We can have a fella portraying his Brazil jersey, walking all around. And next one have a Germany jersey and said, Brazil going down. Somebody else had on a Italy. Italy didn't make it to the World Cup this year. And it's just the banter. So do you have a team or had a team in this World Cup?
Well, yes, I am a Brazilian to the heart. This has been going on for generations in my family. My whole family is Brazil. However, when Brazil was eliminated, the World Cup finished. So I cannot even update you on what the developments are presently in the World Cup, who are in the finals, everything. Because I said
Spain,
Brazil.
Argentina. Spain, Argentina. Let me help you. Spain, Argentina.
Well, boy, to be honest with you, I'm not concerned anymore. Because once Brazil gone, I gone. I not
So
motivated
you
anymore.
know, once your team gone,
Yeah, that is a different.
you don't care about it no more.
Nah, that is a different. That is a different. I had Brazilian. Yeah, son from inception, from birth. When I came out the womb, my first cry was Brazil. Yes, that's right. Yeah, but that was my first cry. And after that, I've been a diehard fan ever since. So once Brazil out, I out.
Once
That's that.
Brazil out, you out. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
about the spirit of the game, Kieran? What about the football?
Yeah, that is run with me with Brazil. The spirit of the game is alive in Brazil. Once Brazil gone, the spirit gone for me.
Uh,
Yeah, that.
I won't blame you because I know there are many others like you. There are
Hmm.
many others like you. I didn't watch many games, but tomorrow for the finals on Sunday, I'll be watching it.
Yeah,
My
yeah, yeah,
team, my team is Spain. Spain in the finals. But apart from that, it's the camaraderie you get at these
yeah, for
times
sure,
because
for sure.
the guys from who I play football with, we have an alignment to watch the game. We already
Well,
sorted out the food, the
tomorrow,
drinks, whatever we going with to watch the game, and during the game will be banter too. So that is the good thing about it,
yeah.
right?
Tomorrow, I go and watch the game as well too with some friends in Port of Spain. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I go in and watch the game officially. The last one, I just go in for the, as I said, the lime and the camaraderie. Yeah, that's the only reason I go in. Right? To say, well,
Uh,
you know,
I can't blame you. You're not
yeah,
watching your team play, so you'll be kind of bittersweet.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that is what's going on with media right now. So Brazil gone, I gone. The
Let go.
motivation, I go.
But if you listen to some of our past episodes, it's not about motivation, it's consistency over motivation. So we just watching the game because we love the football every 4 years. They watch the entire thing.
I love the football too, but I love Brazil. That is a marriage. You have to understand it's a marriage. Brazil and football. Yeah, son. Yeah, since I watch videos of Pele, that was a day for me. Yeah, son. We call it Junga, Junta. I forget the name of the Junga, the style of football that
Yep.
they push it.
Those are the Junga. So that's what caught your eye since you. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That was a day
I'll
for
give
me.
you that. To each
What's
their
up?
own. And I just want to say again, thank you for joining us again. And for just give us a little brief intro on yourself. Brief, however, they don't even need to be brief for anyone who may be joining us today for the first time who didn't see episode 63, where you were the guest.
Hi, sure. Well, my name is Sir Keiron Regis. I carry the title of Sir, the handle of Sir, rather. The reason I carry the handle of Sir because I was knighted in a chivalric order, which is the Grand Prairie of the Caribbean, which falls under the auspices of the SMOTH 1804, which is a chivalric order that operates within European circles. All right. I am 44 years of age, right? And I've been involved in the security industry going into 20 years now, right? I've been operating as a security consultant since 2013 to present day. All right. So that's about me in a nutshell.
Okay, thanks. So, 20 years in security, 2013 to now is 13 years as a security consultant. And I know what you wanted to, after our last discussion, what I knew is that we had to discuss some security and safety measures going
Yeah.
forward. And apart from security and safety measures in itself, is how you can use some of these things to help men improve on themselves. So
Yeah.
we could start. You could go ahead start on whatever angle you want to start with.
Well, traditionally men have been known as the providers and the protectors, right? However, in modern day time, crime has gotten a lot more sophisticated. Just in the month of June alone, I wrote a report on the month of June recently and the amount of crimes that would have taken place, even big officials, you know, persons that hold high office, even their homes were broken into,
Uh-huh.
right? Yeah, some were speculating that it was an inside job, some were speculating that it could have been persons from the outside. However, when you look at security on the whole within Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, probably the wider Caribbean, we tend to be more reactive than proactive, right? So, what I advise people to do, especially men, if you're looking to be a provider, a protector, that we have to think like risk managers. So, if it is you
Good.
at home, right, you could then look at the weaknesses and the threats that, well, the weaknesses would be what is internal to your home, right? So, you may not have burglar proofing on your windows and so forth. Those are weaknesses where persons can intrude, gateways for intrusion. Then we have threats. We know the threats that potentially could come from the outside, and that is on a national level. It doesn't even really matter what area you belong to anymore, right? Some areas may be a little more high risk than some. However, we all are at risk when it comes to that. So then now, once we identify the weaknesses and the threats, we can then come up with systems that could assist in avoiding the threat altogether or mitigating against the threat, right? So as men, we have to start to think like that. This could also work for the ladies as well, because I did interview some months ago on a radio station with Sherilyn Lewis, right? And I would have highlighted to the ladies, that you can also use risk management techniques in regards to protecting yourselves and your families from harm. So it's not necessarily in line totally with men, is really for men and women. Once you are trying to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your operations, your way of life. Because according to ASIS, which is the American Society for Industrial Security, security is of your personal self or personal assets and operations. You want your home to be running without any trauma coming in there, hindering yourself, hindering your kids from being productive. Because, when a home invasion takes place, that's a traumatic thing, and it could impact everyone in the home. What you call it, post-traumatic stress disorder and so forth.
Yeah.
So you do not want crime to interfere with your daily operations or your way of life. So this is the reason why we have to start to look at systems to avoid, or if we can't avoid the risk, let's mitigate it, right? So what I usually advise people to do is that the American Society for Industrial Security Assist, they have a beautiful acronym, well, that I like to use it. So I'll break it down very simply. Is detect, deter, delay, and respond. Right? I will say it again, just for clarity. Detect, deter, delay, respond. Right? Right. Detect. You must be able to detect the attempt of an invasion. You must have systems in place to be able to detect it. Right? What about deter? Those same systems that you have in place to detect an invasion could also possibly deter persons from actually making the attempt. So when they look at all the cameras that you may have around your home, and you have a very aggressive pit bull in the yard, yeah, they might say, nah, boy, it ain't making sense. We hit that house. We mightn't come out alive. Or simple, you have let's say you have SWAT security, that will render support to your home. You have a package with them, and you put up that sticker, protected by SWAT security. That could also work as a deterrent as well. But it is also a response. But we will get to response just now. So we have detect and we have deter. What about delay? Right? So in delaying, there are specific types of locks that person can employ. And I'm speaking more on the residential side, not so much the industrial side. Right? So there are some locks that it will take 30 minutes for a hacksaw to cut through. It have some locks that will take 15 minutes to cut through. Right? So with that being said, that is a system to delay intruders because they have to, put in some work. They have to put in some sweat equity into that lock. And in delaying them, increase your chances to be able to detect them. Right? Because of the delay. So the longer they take, the increasing the chances for them to be detected. Now we will come to response. So once they are detected and they are being delayed, you can engage in a response. A simple thing as calling the police station so that the police can intervene on your behalf, as well as you can probably get your family to a safe spot in your home where you could probably put a good defense if it becomes necessary. Because I would recommend call the police first. Call the police. Yeah, you don't go out there and attempt to be a hero, and all of that, because you remember these guys, they're moving with handguns, AR-15s and all these nice things, right? And you may not even have a firearm. The most you can pick up is a kitchen knife or a cutlass, right? So my saying, call the police. Get yourself in a safe corner in the home, right?
That's their responsibility.
Yeah, and barricade yourself in that room. And if they get you in the room, you could probably try to talk a little bit. But if you realize that it is naturally going into a negative part, because some of these guys, they're not, they're not too compassionate. Some of them, right? Yeah, you will have a decision to make at that point. I wouldn't tell you what to do in that instance, but you have a decision to make in regards to protecting yourself and your family at that point in time. So basically, that is a summary of what a person can do in regards to protecting themselves, protecting their homes, right? So when you are coming up with your systems in regards to either avoiding or mitigating against the threat, you can use that same system of detect, deter, delay, respond. I also personally came up with an acronym using my last name, Regis, which is recognize, evaluate, right?
Recognize.
Gather, right? Implement and sustain,
Say it again.
right?
Recognize,
Recognize,
right?
evaluate, gather.
Evaluate,
Yeah.
gather.
Yeah. So after evaluate is implement and sustain, right? So that's acronym I developed using my last name. So you must be able to recognize the weaknesses and the strengths, but you also
Right.
have to. Um, so once you recognize the weaknesses and the strengths, sorry, and I'll jump ahead. You have to evaluate it.
Mhm.
Say recognize and evaluate it. Say recognize I have a I have a window here. Probably one of the window panes are broken, right? So you start to evaluate now. So I recognize that this window is broken. I can now evaluate and say, with this window being broken, what threats could come to my home?
So you do
You
like
know?
a SWOT analysis. So everything you talk about, like you
Yeah.
do a SWOT analysis on your own.
Right, correct. Then you could gather information as well. So just from I'm not wrong, you would know who are the people who tend to want to do break-ins in your community. You know? Just from being around. You could gather that type of information. You could probably gather the capabilities that these individuals have. If it's just little pipers who will see an opportunity and they'll exploit it, or they have equipment where they have bull cutters, or
Yeah.
you can get that information, right? So when you have that now, the other thing is implement, right? You implement a system, so you fix the window, put some burglar proof there. But what about the S, which is sustain? Or I would go as far as to say sustainability. You have to review the system again to see if it works or not. So if it is, you put up a burglar proofing, and you are hearing that the neighbor had a burglar proofing as well too, but they were able to still enter the home by the neighbor. You now realize that you are at risk too. Because you know they say when your neighbor house on fire, wet yours.
With your own, yes.
Yeah. So you are now at risk. So you now have to come up with a new system to sustain the, the integrity of the security of your home. So it will allow you to protect yourself, protect your family. If it means you have to put up cameras or so forth, or you use a stronger material if you can afford it, that kind of thing. So this is what is important in regards to sustainability of any residence, or even as being a man who's the head of a home, or even as a lady who is in a home. You do your risk assessment. You could use my name as the acronym in regards to recognizing the situation, evaluate it, gather information, implement us,
And
and
sustain.
sustain or sustainability. And sustainability, you have to go back to reevaluate the systems that you had in place and see how it has been working.
Yeah, so you just repeat. Basically, you repeat. When you reach sustainability, you repeat everything again because you recognize it's
Correct.
because
Correct.
a threat could change.
Correct. That's the
You could
change.
and tomorrow, the same blogger proof that you put in, you see that the roof is raising up or a part of this foundation weakening here.
Correct. Correct.
Right? So that's the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the home. But how about what you have in place for securing your person? Because many times we walk the street, we drive, we may come
Yeah.
home at different times of the day. And not just for men, but for their families. How can they help? And why I'm saying this because it's a mindset. Security is a mindset, right? Because to be aware of your surroundings a little more on those things, that mindset that we may have to develop in our family, in our children. And it's not that because crime so high we have to do it. It's in general. Because if you could the same risk assessment while walking, it could prevent many things. Because if you're not paying attention, for one, right? You're not paying attention, I just say. You could walk into a hole, a manhole cover open or something, then you fall.
Yeah.
So, how do we protect ourselves or help protect our loved ones when we are not there? Protect their person.
Well, that what all the things you refer to there actually in subtlety speak to what you call situational awareness, being
Mhm.
aware of the environment and not being distracted.
Yeah.
Right? So there's research that shows that people who speak on their phones while walking in public tend to become victims of persons who are aware of their presence and of their actions. Right?
Okay.
Right? So situational awareness. So if it is you can avoid talking on your phone while in public, avoid it. Because there's another research that they ask some criminals, they show them some people walking in a public area, and they ask the question, who would you target? And in each instance, they targeted persons who seemed to be unaware of their environment. They seemed to be distracted, very much so. Hence the reason why the first thing that the head of the home should do is to teach his family situational awareness. Try not to be distracted in public. Be aware of your surroundings while you are walking. Say again?
And then repeat the situational awareness and making notes for them so when we wrap it up, we don't hear what it is you're saying.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So situational awareness, being aware of your surroundings, you know, look around and look like you are looking around too. Because remember we spoke about detect, deter, delay, respond, right?
Yep.
So that now will allow us to be able to detect if someone is actually attempting to follow us. Let me give you a personal experience. I was moving from a residential area to another location. So I had walked into a mall on Frederick Street and I was on the phone, but I was situationally aware. When I walked into the mall, I said to the person I was speaking to on the phone, yeah, but I'm looking to move out from the apartment there and I'm going to this next new location and so forth. And I noticed someone spin around and looked at me. I noticed that person. So I walked into a store and noticed the person was trying to be out of my sight. Right? So I then did what we would call anti-surveillance drills, which is an attempt to identify if someone is following you.
Yeah.
Right? Right. So I walked in one direction and then I turned around and walked in a different direction. And the person adopted the behavior perfectly. So I recognized I was being followed. I started to look at reflective surfaces, like, like the glasses on the stores and so forth. And I recognized that the person was still followed. Right? So they were now looking for an opportunity to attack because they probably heard when I said I'm moving out, so they're thinking I have plenty of money on me. Right?
Yep.
They would have been for a shocker at that point. So what I did now, so after I detected that someone has nefarious intentions against me, I was now able to plan a response. So basically, what I did, I saw a lady who I knew. I turned around to talk to her, but I turned myself in a way that I would face the gentleman who was following me. And I looked him
Yeah.
straight in his eyes. When he recognized that I was aware of his presence, he turned in the opposite direction and disappeared, which gives credibility to what the research is saying is that they tend to want to attack persons who appear to be unaware of their surroundings. So present that image of being aware that you have situational awareness, and that would aid in giving you a level of protection. If something does occur, let's say you are attacked, make noise, make lots and lots and lots of noise, attract attention to the situation that is taking place. A lot of the times they don't want the attention. A lot of the times they don't want it. Even though they may be banking on the fact that people may not intervene, but still attract attention to it.
So attract
Persons,
attention is another one.
yeah, attract attention. So you are actually attacked, right? Attract attention to it. Make noise, scream, make sound the alarm, as we say, so that persons could look into your direction and identify what is taking place.
Yeah.
Right? Another thing that you can do, which goes into avoidance of the risk, do not walk in unpopulated roads, streets, pathways. Once it's lonely, don't go there. If you don't have to go there, don't go there. It could be the easiest path to take, especially in the night. Don't go there.
Unpopulated or unpopulated areas.
Yeah. Right? Don't go there. Avoid those areas. That will assist you in, well, as I said, avoiding the risk altogether. Right? Also, ladies, when they are holding their handbags as well. So this one is for the ladies. Look like you're holding it secure and look like you are aware of your surroundings as well. Going back to situational awareness. Because if they perceive that you have a firm grip on your purse or even your phone, you may be walking through Port of Spain and you decide to take a phone call and you place the handset by your ears. Have a firm grip on the home, a visibly firm grip on the phone, which could then deter persons from wanting to attempt to steal it from you. Because remember, they would want to snatch and then run. But if it is they identify that they can get resistance in snatching the phone, it may deter from wanting to do so. Right? Another scenario I'll bring to your attention. I had purchased some school books, right, for my boys. And in doing that, I recognized that I may have overspent some money for the school books. So I actually went into the bag to look for the receipts and stuff. And a lady touched me. And she informed me, hey, look them fellas, and I'm looking at it. I did look into,
Yeah.
to target you right then and there. Because they spotted me being unaware, because I placed 100% focus on going into the bag to get the receipt to confirm if it is. When they saw that I was aware, the whole thing changed. Because I stood up, I looked at them, and I postured myself for a fight. And they moved away at that time. Because a lot of the times, remember, they're looking to grab and go.
And flee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is their main course of operations. Yes, sir?
So,
yeah.
How do we teach this to our family members? As men who listen, how do you teach this to your children or your significant other?
Right. So the first step is to actually make them aware of the potential dangers that exist. Right? And then you show them how to avoid it. Like having the same discussion like what I'm having now, there are videos that teach it as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
Pull up those videos, let them take a look at these things so that they can now become situationally aware, because that's the first thing. Because I keep saying this to people when persons come and talk to me about security. The best defense often occurs before the threat materializes. By the time you put things in place, like in the military, they have a statement. The more you sweat in peacetime is the less you bleed in war.
And because Scouts have seen that Scout is always prepared.
Be prepared. Correct.
Be prepared, be always prepared.
Always prepared. And that's the reason why I go back to the risk management. Identify the weaknesses, identify the threats. You put your systems in place. You could do a risk management, a risk assessment rather, for going into Port of Spain.
Yeah, yourself going into town, yeah?
Yeah, you're going to Port of Spain, you know that there are certain risks that you cannot avoid, and there are certain risks that you can totally avoid. So you come up with systems to mitigate. So you're going into a taxi, a simple thing. You you may, as you're approaching the taxi, you take a mental note of the registration plates, and then you send it in a message to someone to let that person know. So you're starting to mitigate there.
Yeah.
If God forbid something happens, at least there's someone who knows that at this time you would have entered this vehicle, registration plates, bam, bam, bam. If you can afford to even give a further description of the vehicle, a Almira, a gold Almira, and they have the registration plates, better fair. If you can strategically take a picture of the driver and send it to someone you love, once you can safely do so, do that as well too. That system to mitigate. So if something does occur, at least they can trace your steps. When you arrive
Yeah.
at your destination, send a message again.
I'm
Hey,
here safely.
I've arrived safely. I'm at the office or what have you. When you are leaving the office, send a message again. You are entering into a taxi. Send a message. I'm entering into this taxi. Registration is so, 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 so. You may or may not be able to take a picture of the driver. You know, once you can safely do it, do it. People are very tactical when it comes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
So you can take that picture, you send it for a loved one, you reach home safely. So at least there's a paper trail, or a trail, I shouldn't say a paper trail, but there's a trail that someone can follow in regards to identifying your whereabouts. You know?
And I like the approach you're taking in terms of risk assessment because it came back to what we spoke about in episode 63, where we start about health and how
Yeah.
important health is. And you should be able to do a risk assessment on yourself, health wise, to
Yes.
mitigate and do every same thing. Because I did one on myself and I'm exercising, I have an aim and I'm working on it. I'm trying to eating better than how I was eating before. Because
Yeah.
we could do the same thing. The DDR or the Regis detect the to delay response in ourselves and our surroundings and recognize, evaluate, gather, implement, and sustain. So we could
Hmm.
continue along those paths. And it's just something we have to develop. I tell people I'm very much situationally aware of everywhere I go. And I say this, but I tell people I grew up in Laventille. And
Hey,
when I was young and we had to travel, I used to travel around the bridge. Sometimes rain pouring, I had to rush for car.
okay, let me tell you a little bit, eh? Now, I mute the mic on the phone. You'll be able to edit this, right?
What's that? No, that's all. No, it's
Okay.
in. Right. So what I was saying is when I watch what is happening around, you have to be situationally aware to do certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. You must have situational awareness. Anything you're doing,
Yeah,
easy to stray from. It's very
very much
easy.
so.
It's very much easy. You get a phone call, and the conversation becomes heated,
Yeah.
and you get distracted right there, and someone sees the opportunity to be
Mhm.
able to target. So all these things we have to be mindful of. So when you realize your focus is strained, put it back immediately. Don't wait. Pull it
Yeah.
back immediately, right? Because it is easy. It is the easiest thing to happen. Easiest thing to happen. You know?
And people don't understand that.
Yeah, they don't. They
It's
don't.
very easy to get distracted. Just
Mm-hmm.
writing down all that. Or put that in when sometimes they have people reading. So when they instead of just opening the podcast, some people read and try to understand what it is. And I like how you give the risk assessment because it can be used in every aspect of our life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Every single aspect of our life. Relationships. If you want to say that because you use it as relationships, you do a risk assessment on yourself and on the individual you're interested in. See if it merge. And if it's not working out based on the risk assessment, leave it alone. Same thing when you're buying a house in my real estate agent do. You do the same thing. Yes, you may like this, but we have to look at the assessment on you by the financial institution. How much money can you afford? What's your mortgage figure? Then you know what to look at instead of wasting your time trying to get other things.
Yeah.
Right? Any
hmm
other advice or guidance you can give?
Well, I would say, well, in regards to what you were mentioning with men and using that risk assessment for your health as well too. I would also even, and you mentioned about relationships and so forth. To me, that more lends in the direction of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you something. If it is your mental health is compromised, you aren't that effective as an
True.
individual,
Correct.
right? So even if it is you are in a situation or relationship that your mental health is being compromised for whatever reason that exists, you would tend to be distracted. So you may be walking through the streets of Port of Spain and you are focused on that situation that is disturbing your mental health. It will be almost impossible for you to have a proper situational awareness, to have proper situation.
Yep.
Because you mentally would be distracted and then now you will become prey.
Distracted everything. And it
Yeah,
become free.
parasites. People call them predators, I call them parasites. Because predators in the jungle, they kill with a purpose. Yeah, and everything adds value to the ecosystem within the jungle. You know, but these parasites, a parasite is like a tick on a dog. It just takes the blood. It doesn't give anything to the dog. So there's no exchange whatsoever. So this is the reason why I call them parasites. You know, because there is no exchange in regards to the services that would be required.
No.
There's nothing whatsoever.
Nothing exchanging. It's just
Yeah,
one
nothing.
sided.
Take it. They just take
Well,
it. They think that they are entitled to that, right? So that's why I don't call them predators. Predators still serve a purpose. And if I may digress a little bit to explain
sure.
that, yeah. So they were talking about some animals. I can't remember what country it was, but they brought in some herbivores within a area. But the herbivores were not staying in that. They were sorry, as you were. They were staying in that area where they were eating the vegetation in that area. So the trees that the people were planting didn't have the ability to grow
Yeah.
because of these herbivores. They then brought in some wolves. And when the wolves came in now, it scattered the herbivores. And the trees now got that capability to be able to grow and flourish.
So
Right?
everything has
So
a purpose.
yeah, so everything has a purpose except parasites. All parasites do is just take. They ain't serving no purpose. All they do is take it. Right? That's all they do. So there's a different mindset when it comes to parasites.
Okay.
Because we can still respect a
Un-
predator.
Understand your point fully.
Yeah, so that's why I don't call them predators. I call them parasites. Because they
Okay.
take and give nothing.
Nothing in return.
They add no value, no way, no how, and at no time. Yeah. So what I would advise men to do, take care of your mental health. That is a major part of protecting your family. Major, major part because Bob Marley says if you get up and you quarrel every day, you're saying prayers. The devil's eyes.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa. So what I'm saying to you, brothers, is that we need to have that extra focus on mental health because once that is compromised, you will not be able to function correctly. It's going to be a big challenge for you, man. A really big challenge for you to have that focus, and you would end up in a situation where you have the potential to fail. And
Mm-hmm.
even be, and I remember one guy told me once, a really good friend of mine, he was telling me about his father. And he said when his mom left his dad, the father became so disturbed he couldn't even leave a proper legacy for his children.
Destroyed his mental health.
Yeah, it destroyed his mental health, and he couldn't
Yeah.
function. A man who was, who had a lot of property, a lot of assets, had some millions, went down to almost zero because a woman disturbed his mental health. Yeah. So so men, keep it correct up here, so you can keep it correct here. Fist,
Keep it
right?
correct up here. Another thing to write them down.
Yeah.
Plenty
Men,
to write to them.
yeah, keep it correct mentally, so you can protect your family physically, right?
Yeah, all right to them.
Yeah. Uh, you can probably quote me on that. You can put Sir Keiron
Yeah,
Regis at
you know them
yeah,
thing here.
yeah. Yeah, God, that was inspiration coming forward there.
Well, that go in there, protect. It said keep it correct mentally so you can protect your family physically. Nice. So, Kieran, I just want to thank you for joining us again and sharing your experience. Before
Yeah.
we go, I just want the listeners to remember we're doing ASIC, which is the said to detect, deter, delay, respond. That's for your home, your property, your person. And Kieran used his surname as an acronym, Regis, where he said recognize, evaluate, gather, implement, and sustain. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He also spoke about situational awareness and told you do not be distracted, especially when you walk the streets and other things outside of your home. If you have been attacked, attract attention, scream, shout, do something to raise an alarm. When you're walking, this for your families too. Let them know. Avoid unpopulated or underpopulated streets or areas, especially at night. Or it may be the shortest route. It could be the most dangerous route for you. The advice to your ladies, and so you could share with your mothers, your wives, your daughters, your sisters. When holding your handbag, look like you are holding it tightly and securely. Don't just put your hand, you hold it securely and have a visible firm grip on it. So it'll be harder. So they know when if everybody have to snatch it, they know that it'll come in force. And last thing he said is keep it correct mentally so you can protect your family physically. And not just your family, eh? And when you say protecting your family, it don't just mean protecting them by giving them things. You're protecting them by you being present still. And for you to be able to share that guidance with them and that knowledge and see them grow. So
Correct.
Kieran, I want to thank you on behalf of the listeners here. Shared some good knowledge with us, and I know it will reach places. So thank you for joining us, and anytime, feel free.
Oh,
Anytime you want to just
one more thing.
sure.
Is a little strategy with handbags as well. If someone has successfully snatched your hand, but you still have somewhat of a firm grip on it, what you need to do is to stoop down, right? It kind of transfers your weight closer to the
Onto the
ground.
back.
Yeah. And when the person runs off, you stooping down is going to pull them down. They're going to fall down on the back,
Okay,
right? And
nice.
that will bring attention to the whole situation, and hopefully some other individual will intervene
And give
and
you a
give you aid as well.
nice.
Right?
So you'll hear that, ladies and gentlemen. Share it, stoop down. So this has been Men Talk 2 with me, Aki Lodin, and our guest today, Sir Keiron Regis. See you again next week.
Yeah. Take care.